Sup, you beautiful bastards? Hope you're having a fantastic Tuesday. Welcome back to the Philip DeFranco Show, and let's just jump into it. And the first thing I want to talk about today, one of the most requested stories of the day today, is an update on the craziness out of VidCon yesterday. Specifically, we're talking about creator and panelist Anita Sarkeesian being on a panel and calling someone in the crowd who's made videos about her in the past a garbage human and a shithead. They wrote, "Look, we don't want our panelists to insult our audience members, even when we completely understand that the comment exists in a much broader and pretty messed up context." This seemingly in reference to Sargon's past with Anita. They continue, "Even when people have said hateful things that everyone in our office disagrees with, we have a policy, and it exists not just to protect people at the show, but to protect our ability to have these conversations. Our founder, Hank Green, talked with our panelists and said two things. He told her that her comment had violated our policy, but that he understood there was a broader context, which to be clear, we were blissfully ignorant of until this weekend. And two, he apologized to her for not having been more aware of and active in understanding the situation before the event, which resulted in her being subjected to a hostile environment that she had not signed up for." And on that note of the hostile environment, they wrote, "This year we had a contingent of attendees, some who paid, some who snuck in with fake passes, who had been either perpetrators of this harassment or had for years watched as the outrage they cultivated resulted in followers doxing, harassing, intimidating, and even threatening the lives of the creators on these panels. It is difficult to imagine that this group of people who are aware that their channels have been base camps for years of harassment of some of our panelists did not realize that their arriving early to fill up the three front rows of a panel was going to be intimidating. In any case, it looked like intentional intimidation to most people in attendance, and the panelists were understandably on edge throughout the discussion." And so from this response, what is the net result? Well, despite violating VidCon policy, it doesn't look like Anita was kicked out. And while it does seem like VidCon sympathizes with her, it also doesn't, at least in this article, they never overtly say they're going to bar the people that have been trolling, their words. Also, there's this weird line that he includes in here that I need to touch on. He writes, "But one specific note, if people attend VidCon to collect footage to later use in videos that criticize not just ideas, but focus the outrage of their followers on individuals, they will not be welcome back." But that kind of doesn't make sense. Yes, they were filming this panel where people were openly discussing ideas, but you're essentially criticizing someone for filming someone, as you even said, breaking VidCon policy. It's a showcasing of actions of an individual. That seems a bit ridiculous to me. If I go to a Markiplier panel and I want to film him because I want to expose what I think are flaws in his open argument, and that he at one point says, "Philip DeFranco's a little bitch baby," how does my filming make me the bad guy? And here's what I'll say. I'm a fan of VidCon. I'm a fan of John and Hank, who of course started it. I personally believe this move is weak, and I don't agree with it. Of course, I don't run VidCon. You say someone, Anita, violated VidCon policy, but that you also kind of understand where it came from, also adding that one of the founders apologized to her. She would then go on to be on another panel where reports came out later, and then he even made a video on it, a YouTuber by the name of Boogie, so that he was scared of offending her the entire panel, and then after the panel, she yelled at him, and luckily they were able to talk it out, but still, that is an aggressive person. I'm not saying Sargon or anyone else out there that they're the good guys. I've openly said to him that I don't agree with a lot of what he and a lot of the people that he talks to believe in, but I've also engaged in conversation. But it does raise a question. I understand we don't live in a world where it's black and white, right? There are areas of gray. But what is the point of having a policy in place when people break that policy and the net result is you apologize to them? But from that, I want to share some stuff I love today, and today in Awesome brought to you by SeatGeek. SeatGeek, of course, a fantastic ticket app that takes the confusion out of buying tickets. They put all the tickets in one place. They give it a 0 to 100 score to let you know how good of a deal you're getting. I have the app on my phone, and it is by far the easiest way to buy tickets for a baseball game, concert, other things human people do. And if you're intrigued, those beautiful bastards over at SeatGeek set up coupon code PHIL for $20 off your first ticket purchase. The link to download the app is in the description. And the first bit of awesome is that Nintendo America has now officially announced the SNES Classic Edition. It's $79.99, it will have 21 games, and it's coming out September 29th. Also, unlike the NES Classic Edition, they include 2 controllers, not just one. The games included Earthbound, Super Mario World, The Legend of Zelda, Link to the Past, Donkey Kong Country, a ton of other games, and the one that stands out to me the most is the never-before officially released Star Fox 2. And I will say, I'm kind of pumped about this. As my kid gets older, I want him to be able to play through the classic. The only thing I feel like I'm gonna hate about this is that the controller has such a small cord. I don't know if it'll be the same as the NES Classic, but those were horrible. But fingers crossed. Then we had GQ putting out a video where tattoo artists were critiquing the tattoos of celebrities. Thought it was gonna be a dumb video, finish it up, I became an Oliver Peck fan. Then if you need your daily dose of what the fuck, we have a new Side Night and Happiness short. We also had Watchka putting out a video of parents giving their kids sex advice. And if you wanna see the full versions of everything I just shared, the secret link of the day, anything at all, links as always are in the description down below. And then let's talk about the huge news around Google. After fighting a legal battle in the EU for the past 7 years, Google has been fined $2.6 $2.7 billion. And as far as the reason for this massive fine, it's because of how Google handles shopping searches. The EU's competition commissioner saying what Google has done is illegal under EU antitrust rules. It denied other companies the chance to compete on the merits and to innovate. And most importantly, it denied European consumers a genuine choice of services and the full benefits of innovation. So what did Google do? Well, they said after years-long analysis, they found that Google skewed search results to promote to their services over competitors, adding that on average, Google only links to competitors by page 4 in the search results. And in response to this, as you might expect, Google says they do not agree with this judgment, adding that they're considering an appeal. Kent Walker, Senior VP and Senior Counsel at Google, say, when you shop online, you want to find the products you're looking for quickly and easily, and advertisers want to promote those same products. That's why Google shows shopping ads connecting our users with thousands of advertisers, large and small, in ways that are useful for both. While some comparison shopping sites naturally want Google to show them more prominently, our data shows that people usually prefer links that take them directly to the products they want, not to websites where they have to repeat their searches. Now here's the tricky part. The EU Commission has given Google 90 days to, quote, stop its illegal conduct, give equal treatment to rival price comparison services. Reportedly, it's up to Google to choose how it plans to give equal treatment to competitors and inform the EU of its plans within 60 days. And if Google fails to comply, they are at risk of having to pay up to 5% of their daily revenue. And so it'll be very interesting to see what happens from here. The EU has slammed Google, but they've also not told them what to do to fix it, just saying, fix it, let us know how you plan on fixing it, and okay, well, we'll hopefully hear from you in 60 days. And we'll just have to wait and see what happens, but we do know that the EU takes this very seriously. While a $2.72 billion fine isn't the end of days for Google/Alphabet because it's estimated they have around $90 billion-ish hanging around, it's still more than 2.5 times the highest fine ever imposed for anti-competitive behavior in the EU. We'll wait and see. Then, in interesting advertiser news, according to researchers from the University of Illinois, after examining 78 peer-reviewed studies between 1969 and 2017, they say that sex does not sell. And specifically, I mean lead to the purchase of items. I'm sorry to tell you this, Carl's Jr., even though they've actually recently changed up their whole campaign. But what the researchers found is that while participants who took in advertising were more likely to remember something that was sexual, they found the participants were less likely to remember the brand being advertised. And if they did remember the brands, they were more likely to have a negative thought about that brand. And ultimately, the report's lead author said, we found literally zero effect on participants' intention to buy products and ads with a sexual appeal. And to me, this makes sense. It's kind of like those Carl's Jr. ads. You know, you remember the one with Kate Upton and you remember the one with Charlotte McKinney. Those ads were seemingly way more beneficial for them than it was for the Carl's Jr. brand. The people that wanted to see those girls were very happy and most likely wanted to see those girls more. And I don't know about you, but there's nothing that really translates from the thought of, ooh, I really like to see stuff in Kate Upton's mouth, to I should probably buy a burger from a fast food place. This doesn't make sense. Now, granted, if you're trying to draw views, then yes. My entire YouTube career between 2006 to 2014 can attest to that. But that's more akin to if Kate Upton was at a Carl's Jr. and you went there and you were actually able to eat the product, the burger, not Kate Upton. And then you get that handoff, but is there something visual? No. And my ultimate takeaway is sex still sells, but sex just sells sex. And actually, on the note of sex appeal in a place that you would not normally expect it, let's talk about the Czech Republic. And that's because we have a story out of the Czech Republic about a nuclear power plant that was bringing on interns, and the management there decided that the best way to pick the best intern would be to make this democratic. And so after they narrowed it down to the top 10 finalists for the intern positions, they opened it up to a public vote and said whichever intern gets the most likes on these Facebook posts, that is going to be our winner. The thing is, all of the potential interns were female high school graduates that posed in bikinis and hard hats inside of the cooling tower in the nuclear power plant. Whoever won would get the internship and be crowned 2017's Miss Energy. And as you'd expect, once this went public, there were people shouting, this is sexist, this is disgusting. Why wouldn't you hire an intern based on their merits and not their looks? In a response to all of this, they removed the pictures of the girls, they removed the posts, and they issued an apology, saying, we didn't want to offend anyone. The purpose of the competition was to promote technical education, but if the original vision raised doubts or concerns, we are very sorry. As far as who got to be Miss Energy, no one. They reportedly didn't announce a winner, but they did offer internships to all 10 finalists. And personally, I just want to know, how did this become a real thing? Who proposed this and everyone was like, yeah. I mean, did anyone say the concept out loud before jumping dick first into it? We need interns, but I want to see what they look like almost naked Also, people should vote on who looks the best in that. If it's just for promotion, sure, people can dislike it, but it's just for promotion, even though we've talked about sex not selling. But when you turn it into part of an internship application, it's dirty. I mean, the concept, it sounds like a porn I would watch, but that shit has no place in the real world. And then let's talk about the other most requested stories of the day today, the CNN Donald Trump clusterfuck. It is something. And to start it up, let's talk about CNN.
You are fake news.
Donald, a damn second, please. We have 3 CNN journalists who resigned after CNN had to pull a Trump-Russia-related story. In the 3 who have resigned, you have Pulitzer Prize nominee Thomas Frank, who wrote the story, Pulitzer winner and assistant managing editor Eric Lichtblau, he recently joined from the New York Times, and Lex Harris, the executive editor in charge of the investigative unit. Well, the article was about Anthony Scaramucci. Anthony's a hedge fund manager and a member of Trump's transition team, and linked him to an executive from the Russian Direct Investment Fund supposedly being investigated by the Senate. The story claimed that Scaramucci met with the executive, whose $10 billion fund makes investments in Russian companies, 4 days before Trump's inauguration. And the article cited an anonymous source. The source said that the Senate Intelligence Committee is investigating the Russian fund in connection with its examination of discussions between White House advisor Jared Kushner and the head of a prominent Russian bank. The bank, VEB, oversees the fund, which has ties to several Trump advisors. The source saying 2 Democratic senators asked Treasury to investigate whether Scaramucci promised to lift sanctions, a policy shift that would help the fund attract more international investment to Russia. Now, after CNN published this story, Scaramucci went to Twitter, writing, "It's okay, I did nothing wrong. They're hitting friends of POTUS who are loyal advocates on his behalf." And the RDIF, the Russian Direct Investment Fund, responded, "CNN's report contains factual inaccuracies which we have pointed out to the journalists concerned and expect to be corrected, but no amendments have been made so far." Then there were reports from another anonymous source that there might be a lawsuit around this story, and the next thing we knew, CNN removed the article and all links to the article, and they replaced it with this editor's note that reads, "On June 22nd, 2017, CNN.com published a story connecting Anthony Scaramucci with investigations into the RDIF. The story did not meet CNN's editorial standards and has been retracted. Links to the story have been disabled. CNN apologizes to Mr. Scaramucci." Lex Harris also released a statement saying, "On Friday, CNN retracted a story published by my team. As executive editor of that team, I have resigned. I've been with CNN since 2001 and I'm sure about one thing. This is a news organization that prizes accuracy and fairness above all else. I am leaving, but will carry those principles wherever I go." And while CNN has not come out and said that the story is false, stating only that the facts were, quote, "not solid enough for publication," and that the standard editorial processes were not followed when the article was published. Now, in response to this, Scaramucci tweeted, "CNN did the right thing. Classy move. Apology accepted. Everyone makes mistakes. Moving on." But the same could not be said for President Donald Trump, who took to Twitter to say, "Wow, CNN had to retract big story on Russia with 3 employees forced to resign. What about all the other phony stories they do? Fake news. See, Donald, I told you you'd get your turn." Donald Trump later adding, "Fake news CNN is looking at big management changes now that they got caught falsely pushing their phony Russian stories. Ratings way down. So they caught fake news CNN cold. But what about NBC, CBS, and ABC? What about the failing New York Times and Washington Post? They are all fake news." But that was not the end of CNN's troubles today. A story and undercover video blew up today called "CNN Producer Says Russia Narrative Bullshit." And the description reads, "John Bonifield is a senior producer at CNN, admits to several beliefs that are in direct conflict with the official CNN narrative that Trump had colluded with Russia, and that Russia has interfered with the 2016 election." And so with that said, let's look at some of the video.
So you believe like the Russia thing's a little crazy, right?
Even if Russia was trying to swing an election, we try to swing their elections. We're in our CIA and doing shit all the time. Like, we're out there trying to manipulate governments. Like,
Then why is CNN constantly like Russia this, Russia that?
because it's ratings.
Because ratings?
Our ratings are incredible right now. And it goes, just to give you some context, President Trump pulled out of the climate accords, and for a day and a half we covered the climate accords, and the CEO of CNN said in our internal meeting, he said, "Good job everybody covering the climate accords, but we're done with it, let's get back to Russia."
So it's, I mean, I understand it's all ratings, right?
Oh, it's a business. It's a business. People are like, the media has like an ethical... But all the nice cutesy little ethics that used to get talked about in journalism school, you're just like, that's adorable. That's adorable. This is a business. Especially cable news, you know. Cable news isn't the New York Times. They got to do what they got to do to make their money, I think. So I love the news business, but
I find it so
I'm
fascinating.
very cynical about it. At the same time, so are most of my colleagues.
Yeah, it's like,
I'm not alone.
honestly, you think the whole Russia shit is just like bullshit.
Could be bullshit. I mean, it's mostly bullshit right now. Like, we don't have any big giant proof. But then they say, well, there's still an investigation going on. And you're like, I don't know. If you were finding something, we'd know about it.
Okay, so coming out of that, for those of you that are new here, I have been a big critic of CNN. Granted, I've also been a critic of many other news outlets, but just so you know that before moving forward. There are a few things that need to be pointed out so that you feel like you're getting all of the information you need. The first is that Project Veritas and James O'Keefe seem to be making this producer seem more important than he is, because he's not a political producer, he is the producer of CNN Health. So if I want the US stats on ingrown toenails, yeah, I'm gonna go to John, but I don't know why I would go to him for politics. Now, as far as the Russia stuff being bullshit or mostly bullshit, the way that it's cut and edited, and this is a potential issue with James O'Keefe if you've seen his past, we don't know if he's saying the entire Russia situation, the Trump-Russia situation, or just the Russian hacking situation. I'm interested in the facts, and I think that the Trump-Russia situation, that might be bullshit. But all the information we've seen more and more of, the testimony from our intelligence agencies points to Russia did hack us. Russian hacking should be discussed whether you're a liberal or a conservative. He even states in the beginning, even if Russia was trying to swing an election, we try to swing their elections. Doesn't sound like he's fully trying to dispute it. It almost sounds like he's trying to justify it. And to the note of Trump is good for business, well, yeah, no shit. When you look at CNN and Fox News, you know those are biased news organizations, left and right. And when you have a president, when you have a news network that leans in opposition to that president, they go in. We're seeing it with CNN and Donald Trump, and we saw it with Fox News and Barack Obama. I'm not saying they're apples to apples, but you have CNN 24/7, it feels like, talking about Trump and Russia. But do you remember when we had a President Barack Obama and Fox, it seemingly embraced birtherism? Do you remember? Because I remember.
By the way, there's one story that his family doesn't even know what hospital he was born in.
Yeah, I've heard that as well.
Yeah, but why not produce it? It's so easy. Here it is on TV, on billboards, whatever. Why not just bring it out?
Show the birth certificate. Let's get it over with.
Bill goes back to last year when all the questions were raised. Was Obama born in Kenya? Even if he was born in Hawaii, did he give up his citizenship when he moved to Indonesia?
And so for me, the ultimate takeaway from this is really this kind of just exposes what I already feel like I personally knew. A lot of news outlets handle themselves like a business that is playing for a side. You know, Fox News was created because there needed to be a conservative news outlet. And there are a lot of news organizations that do that. I would almost argue most. And VidCon, I was talking to this very interesting guy, and he made a point, and it was like, it feels like these aren't even news organizations anymore. They're just activists. And more of them don't even hide it. And I feel like that covers the full spectrum. Like, please know that if you're going to Fox News or Breitbart, or you're going to CNN or the Huffington Post, you are going to a site that says we're doing the real thing. But if you really look and you challenge yourself, it looks like they're playing for a team. But of course, what's beautiful about this show is we talk about the news. We include all the sources down below. I give my opinion, but it also doesn't have to be your opinion. I want you to let me know in those comments, what is your takeaway from this situation? Do you specifically think that it's CNN that's bad, it's CNN that's garbage, or this is just representative of a bigger problem? Did you have a different takeaway from the interaction in that video? I'd love to know your thoughts. And that's actually where I'm going to end today's show. And remember, if you liked this video, you like what I do on this channel, hit that like button. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. Also, if you missed yesterday's Philip DeFranco show, you want to catch up, click or tap right there to watch that. Or if you want to see the newest behind the scenes vlog, click or tap right there to watch that. But that said, of course, as always, my name's Philip DeFranco. You've just been filled in. I love yo faces, and I'll see you tomorrow.